Fair. Okay, so we are live now. So, hello. We started talking about live ships and Assassin's Quest because there's so much to talk about. But hi, I'm Caillou with Alex, Leah, and our live show only guest, Julia. And we're here to talk about Assassin's Quest and I guess the whole Farseer Trilogy, and probably we're going to get into talking a little bit about live ships because every time we even like veer close to what's next, there's like a whole thing about it. So, but yeah. I guess we can just continue talking about what we were talking earlier, which is just that Fitz is dumb, and he doesn't get any better, but he becomes more well-rounded in how dumb he is.
And we love him nonetheless.
We do love him.
Mm-hmm.
I miss him. I finished Assassin's Quest and I was like, do I want to start Assassin's Apprentice?
Again?
Well, that's what we're going to do when we finish the whole series, right? We're just going in an infinite loop. So might as well start again.
Start from the beginning again.
Robin Hobb needs to get going, write more books.
Mm-hmm. I think she's been writing short stories as Megan Lindholm right now.
Is she?
Yeah.
At least that's what I thought.
I saw some. Well, I almost said something bad.
I was thinking.
did you almost say she's writing a blank trilogy?
Yeah.
Yes.
Almost. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I don't want her to though, but I can talk about that later.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to know why you wouldn't. But we can't talk about that now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about safer things. Fitz.
Yeah,
Our
so
boy, we miss him.
So what did you think of the trilogy as a whole, Julia, as your first read?
I think it's very different from anything else I've ever read. I think that I am used to a protagonist that I can relate to, right? Like if you read Harry Potter, you're like, yeah. I think that all the choices he's making are reasonable, and I would probably make similar choices in that circumstance. Or you read Percy Jackson, and you're like, yeah, I'm sarcastic like Percy Jackson. Like, this is relatable. And I think maybe this is the first time I've read like a big fantasy series where I'm like, I would not make any of these choices that Fitz is making. He is so unrelatable. He's whiny. He's petulant. He's like incompetent most of the time. And so I think that I started reading Assassin's Apprentice. And I'm like, I'm not going to keep reading this. I don't really like it. Like, sorry, Caillou. But then I kept going, and that was mostly out of like a bitch you live like this kind of attitude to Fitz. And that just became more and more compelling of like, you get to watch a train wreck that's his life, and like you kind of get interested in the drama. And so for that to be the compelling reason to keep reading is very different. Right, like the trilogy is like, hello, would you like to see a disaster? And I'm like, well, not really, but now I'm interested, so yes. And then there are likable characters, right? Like I love Night Eyes. I think he's absolutely fantastic. I loved Verity. I thought he was fantastic.
Right.
I liked Burrick too. I thought he was a good character. And so I have my favorites, and Fitz ends up becoming quite endearing, I think, throughout the end of the trilogy. I was also a little impressed that I think I came into the trilogy with the impression that it was a children's series.
Yeah, no.
Oh no.
Absolutely not.
I think that maybe Assassin's Apprentice could get away with being young adult.
Yeah, I get where you say that because it starts with him being like 6, and usually an adult fantasy book wouldn't start with a child protagonist.
Right.
To be fair, like it starts off with adult him being emo as all hell. So like,
Yeah, but everybody skims past that. That's not the thing that we focus
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, especially
fair.
since you don't really know that it's Fitz at first, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like, is this an omniscient third-person narrator kind of person, or
Right. Mystery narrator.
wait, doesn't he say like he's like my life kind of sucked, and then
I
it
don't
started.
remember anymore.
He
Yeah,
does. He's like, every time I start writing about the history of the Six Duchies, I always end up writing my own history or something like that.
Oh, right.
Sure. But then I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, wait, is this Chade though?
Could have been.
That would have been a hell of a twist. That like it's someone talking about like Fitz's life and being like, man, wish I'd done more right by the kid.
Yeah.
Oh,
We talked about this like in an episode, but if you don't want spoilers, I'm sure you don't listen to the episodes, but Robin Hobb has said that originally this was going to be Verity's story from Verity's point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And then she was like, okay, Fitz just won't shut the fuck up. She didn't really say that, but so she switched and she made it Fitz's story. But I always think that's really interesting, especially for like people that really like Verity. Like originally it was Verity's, and he's like the hero, right?
Yeah.
Like, his story would be just as compelling or just as interesting, but the fact that we get kind of like not an anti-hero, but
he's
like
someone side character.
Right. Yeah, we're getting the point of view of like this someone that would normally be a side character.
Yeah. And that's interesting, which I think is why, I mean, he's a kid in comparison to everyone else. So I'm like, this is YA fiction.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end of Assassin's Quest, I'm like, this is not YA.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess.
We have like some comments.
And I was just about to get into those.
They started reading at 11 because they thought it'd be similar to Ranger's Apprentice.
Yeah. So
what do you mean started reading at 11? What does that mean?
Like age 11.
Started reading Assassin's Apprentice at 11.
Yeah.
So when
like
my
Ranger's
friend
Apprentice.
like recommended Assassin's Apprentice to me, I thought they were talking about Ranger's Apprentice. So I'm like, oh yeah, I read that series, read them ages ago, totally. And I didn't retain any of the information that like she talked to me about with like regard to the series. But then she immediately launched a talking stuff about the series, and I'm like, oh wait, I don't recognize any of that. Maybe I haven't read this.
Well, I remember when I met you, Caillou, you started talking to me about them, and I was like, yeah, Ranger's Apprentice, I love those books. And you're like, no, I made the same mistake. It's not the same.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
very different.
Okay.
So yeah, common mistake. The names are not great or like very unique. So
I do have an off-topic question. Have any of you read the Shaman's Crossing books that Hobb published before she published Assassin's Apprentice? Those were the first books that she published under her
under Robin Hobb. I haven't read any of her stuff outside of like the realm of the Elderlings universe, and I also haven't read anything Megan Lindholm, but our other comment says that that's worth reading. So
it absolutely is. I read all her short stories in the book that's got like half Megan Lindholm and half Robin Hobb, and the Megan Lindholm ones are really good.
I almost bought that.
They lean a little bit more towards like sci-fi, I think, and like dystopian type stuff, but I really enjoyed it.
Now this is the same woman.
Yes,
just a different
Megan Lindholm might be her actual name, and then Robin Hobb is her pen name.
Yeah,
I think both of these are pen names. I like Googled her, and I think that her legal name is like Margaret.
Oh, don't dox her.
Or something like that. Well, it's on her Wikipedia, so like it's there for everyone to see. She's got like
I think like didn't she originally do Robin Hobb to like keep it ambiguous whether or not she was a guy for like publishing purposes?
And like it's harder to change genres, I think, because Megan Lindholm was more sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
It's
harder.
So
it looks like Lindholm is actually her last name, but her real first name is Margaret.
Mm-hmm. It's harder for like fantasy books to get popular when they're written by women. So
stupid.
I know. So she kept it ambiguous
Well,
So-
and J.K. Rowling, JK. That could
Yeah,
be
I think she did the same thing, or
And then there was
for the same reason.
and
And
then later
Hobb-
Robert Galbraith, right? Yeah.
Yeah, she's got that pen name.
And she also picked the last name of Hobb because the H's are like at eye level in the bookstores.
Mhm.
So it was like the perfect
It's
thing.
like genius.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's clever.
Yep.
Mhm. But yeah, going back to like a somewhat edgier version of Hobb, we were talking about how like this book series is already like depressing and edgy, and like so I can't even imagine what that would look like. So
Some of them are like
Dark.
some of them are depressing. There's one called like purple or blue, like it's just named a color in the like collected stories. And holy shit, it's so depressing. It's such a good story, but oh my god, it's
Robin
when you
Hobb
need to
write a
read
happy
more
story
chapters.
challenge, impossible.
I almost bought that like collection of short stories by Megan Lindholm and Robin Hobb this week. And then I was like, it's like $14 and I have books I already own that I haven't read. So I didn't buy it. But now I
We're
kind
gonna
of
have
wish I
to
would
read
have.
those are gonna be like
Eventually I'll have to read them.
things.
The stack of books that my camera is sitting on is like a bunch of books I bought for like Halloween 2020. I still haven't read some of them.
I have so many books and I'm moving, so I'm like, okay, kids, who makes the cut here?
Books are the hardest thing to move because you put them in a box and you don't realize that like you won't be able
They're
to pick it
so
up.
heavy.
They're so heavy. It's like there's so much books that I still have sitting at my parents' house because I was like, I give up.
You have to pick your favorites, and it's really rude to the books, but like it's got to be done. And
Yeah.
you know for sure I'm lugging my Robin Hobb books wherever I go. All of them. There's no way I'm moving without them, even though I read all of my books on like my e-reader. So
Really?
it's fine. Yeah, I have a Kobo that's not a Kindle, so it's like connected to the library. So I just get all my books for free. But I still like to keep my Robin Hobb ones for like comfort.
Yeah.
So I don't read on e-readers. I have a kind of a problem reading on screens, except this trilogy. I think this Assassin's Apprentice trilogy is like the first books I've read on a screen. And it's just because I keep bothering Caillou after every podcast, like, hey, send me the next one. I can't be bothered to go pick it up from the library. Just send me a link. Just like drop it in the Google Drive. Because I'm so lazy.
e-reader.
The very legal Google Drive, just
Yeah.
in case any
Oh, yeah.
Robin Hobb lawyers are
right.
watching.
My e-reader changed my life because it doesn't look like a screen. Like it looks like nice paper. And at least for mine, here, I'll just show you. Like, it's incredible. I love it so much.
I think I have seen those
And it's
devices.
so portable and it's beautiful. And
it
it's
goes to the library?
Yeah, mine is connected to my library because it's got like overdrive built right in. And
You'll
so
have to
I'll
tell
just check
me.
out books on Libby and then it goes right to it.
That's really cool.
Incredible.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 recommend. Plus it's not supporting Amazon, and
That's the biggest thing. I've been trying to get away from Amazon because I hate Jeff Bezos so much. He's like a dragon sitting on top of a hoard of gold.
Kobos are the way to go. And they're Canadian, so they're like nice and stuff. I think.
I have a
Sponsor
Nook.
us.
Yeah, I have a Nook, and it's like I got it in high school, so it's old AF, and I don't know how it's still working, but it's my favorite thing to take on vacations because then if I finish a book, so often I've been on vacation and just taken one book and then I finish it, and I'm like, now what do I do? But I can just buy the next one right on my Nook. I read all of Tawny Man on vacation in Australia because I went with the first one. I was like, I won't finish this, and then I just blew through them all.
Yeah,
It's
when I
hard
first read
not
Live
to
Ships, I read them all on the drive from California to here. So, yeah,
I think when I started Royal Assassin, I was camping in the middle of nowhere, southern Utah, by myself, and I like tucked myself into my tent and was all like, "Oh boy, time to start a new book in the middle of nowhere."
real cozy.
Paneling fits though. That's like peak fits out in the
Mhm.
woods
Oh, yeah.
camping. Like that's the perfect time to read Robin Hobb.
Was it the winter too?
It was November.
I mean, that's like the
chilly.
perfect season too.
Yeah.
Bucky's always cold.
And then it was like, okay, I'm gonna get up tomorrow morning and hike 8 miles by myself and see no one and think about wolves.
Yeah.
That was great.
You're like, friend wolf, and it just jumps on you.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Hey guys.
There are no wolves actually in southern Utah, but there were like mule deer that I saw, and I was like,
Haragar?
hello? Would you like to join my quest?
This is like completely unrelated. But, like, speaking of wolves, I was like, I don't know why, but I was like thinking about like A Song of Ice and Fire again, and I was like, Fitz is kind of weirdly similar to John, just from like a macro perspective. He's a bastard prince who has an association with wolves and can like shift into them, and
who's secretly hot.
secretly hot and doesn't realize it themselves.
And is like extremely hard on themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And has daddy issues.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I haven't read A Song of Ice and Fire.
That was the only one that I read in that series, and then I just started watching the show because those books are very difficult. I mean, it was so hard for me to get through. I just couldn't. And the way that he wrote Danny, I was like,
Yeah.
not. So I stopped.
I read them all, but so long ago that I don't really remember very much.
It's been like 10 years since the last book, so.
Right, yeah, I think I read them all in like from 2013 to 2014. So it's been almost 10 years since I read them.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, see, I don't know how old you are, Leah, but I feel like 10 years ago, that may not have been age-appropriate material.
I just turned 29, so I was 19.
Okay.
19, 20, yeah.
Because 10 years ago, I was 13, and I'm like, I don't think a 13-year-old Julia would have.
No, I was in. It must have been 2014, so I must have been 20 because I remember I had just gotten done with college. I did college in 3 years, so I graduated early.
Little flex.
And then, well, I took classes in high school, so it wasn't like too bad. But I remember I went on a internship in the UK, and like I brought them with, and I would ride them on all the train rides and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was old enough, but I don't remember anything. Because as soon as I read a book, I'll like retain the information for X amount of time, and then it just like gets replaced by something else unless I reread it.
I am so jealous. I wish I had that. For me, like, I'll read a book and I'll remember it for like decade plus, and so I can never reread it like properly.
Yeah.
I think these books are the exception because they're so dense that like there's just too much.
Well, I think everything flows together, so I can't tell which happens in what book. That's the only problem for me.
Yep.
I think a book will stay with me if I liked it. Like, if you want me to remember your book in 10 years from now, write a good book.
Yeah. I'm the same way with like TV shows and movies. Like someone will ask me, my friend really loves 30 Rock, and I watched it all, and she'll be like, do you remember that episode? And I'm like, no. I watched the whole thing, but
yeah.
Like,
don't ask me what happens in New Girl. I've seen the whole thing twice, and I couldn't tell you.
It all blurs together too.
Yeah.
I feel like that's very true with sitcoms too, because they're just like,
yes, that's how they're supposed to be, though. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I don't know. I could tell you anything that happens in any episode of Parks and Rec.
I'm that way with Arrested Development. That's like the one I rewatched it so much in college that it like cemented into my brain.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the one that I can remember.
Anyways, talking about Assassin's Quest.
Right.
I was one originally.
Came here for.
Oh, have you guys read The Wheel of Time?
No.
No, I know one of my
halfway
cousins
through that book. I've been halfway through the first book for years now. I listen to it on audiobook because my uncle loves it, and it's just like they're all so long. And I want to do it for him, but like there's so many other books that are calling my name. I can't.
I started to read it because this guy that I was kind of seeing in college told me to read it, and then I started it, and then he said something. I was like, I'm having trouble getting into it. Like, there's so many characters, blah, blah, blah. And then he said something about it being better than Lord of the Rings, and Lord of the Rings is like my thing. So then I was like, now I hate it, and I hate you.
Yeah, that's quite a claim.
So I stopped.
that's cool.
Like, I gave it a little bit more of a try, and then I just like couldn't because I resented it, which is not fair, but I did.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that I did enjoy the book a lot better than I was enjoying the show when I was watching it. I think that like the show, like there were parts of the show where I'm like, this is wrong. They're not doing this right. So like it was too soon for me to like watch the show and be able to enjoy it on its own.
I didn't remember anything about the book when I watched the show, so it didn't faze me.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like, I was overwhelmed by the length of that series because there's so many books and they're all so long, which if I had known that this series was as long as it was, I probably never even would have started it, but I thought I was starting a trilogy.
She sneaks us into it. She really is sneaky about it. She's like, it's just 3 books. It's just 3 more books. It's just 3 more books. Until it's like 16.
Yeah, I only knew that there was a Farseer Trilogy when I first read it. And then I got to the end of Assassin's Quest. I'm like, this is fucking bullshit. What is this ending? And then my friend was like, so you want more? And I was like, yeah, I want more. And they're like, cool. There's another trilogy.
I know, I keep saying like, oh, I probably won't read the next one. You know, it's like in Princess Bride, it's like, good night, Wesley, I'll probably kill you in the morning. And,
Yes.
well, and then you're the captain of the pirate ship and you're like, uh-oh, I'm now on a podcast about this.
Speaking of pirates.
Wesley.
I love how, because honestly, it was like, when you started reading it, it's like, oh man, I wonder if she'll get done by the time we do the live show. And meanwhile, you finished reading it like a month and a half ago or something.
Yeah,
you finished before we did.
Definitely.
Yeah, because I sprint them, right? Like, I think I started way after you guys and then finished way before you guys because I have a nothing job that requires me to sit and wait for the phone to ring. So I'm like, time to misappropriate my workplace's resources and read this book.
I read my first Robin Hobb book while I worked at a call center, and like I was a help desk, so people would call me and then I'd ask them a question. They'd be like, I have to go back to the customer. So they'd put me on hold for like 5 to 10 minutes and I would just sit there reading or coloring. I had a Game of Thrones coloring book. I would color in a lot too.
I started them in study hall, and I just brought the book because my grandma gave it to me for Christmas or my birthday. I think it was my birthday. And I was like, well, I've got nothing else to do. And like this book, like the cover seems cool. So I started it. And then by like 50 pages in or like 100 pages in, I was reading it outside of study hall as well as like just demolishing it inside of study hall too.
It's a little bit addicting, like, because it's not, which is weird. Like I say addicting, not in like a good way, in like a sneaky way.
Yes, like an actual addiction. It's not like a good healthy thing,
right? Like I'm not,
you're losing sleep, you're stressed out.
Yeah, like these books, I love them, but like I don't know if they bring me joy.
No, I cry all the time because
Marie Kondo would be like throwing it out the window.
Right. Like if I'm describing it to someone, I'm like, it's so good, you have to read it. Like it's so emotional, and I'm like, it's like very sad.
yeah.
It's all sad.
So the end of Assassin's Quest, I was like, there's so much that's not answered, and there's 30 pages left.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it was all wrapped up in those 30 pages, but I'm like, I guess, you know, like the way it wrapped up, I'm like, okay, sure.
She does that. She'll like, I think with a lot of, or almost all of the trilogies, I'll be like, I only have 50 pages left and shit is still like,
where's the rest? You're flipping to the back. Where's the rest of the book?
Endings, I swear.
And I'm used to like an ending like Tolkien where it's like the story ended, but there's still half the book left.
Oh, shit.
Right.
I think like it's in the same thing we were talking earlier about how like she had Fitz talking to her. I feel like it's that the characters are like, we're still living and existing. You can't end our story here. And she's like, but I must.
Yeah, she's like, I have to go. Like, I have deadlines.
I have children and things to do.
That's why Assassin's Quest is like so much longer than the rest of them. She's like holding on for as long as she can.
Oh, it's so long.
Mhm.
Assassin's Quest is so long.
I think it's both of the first and second book combined.
Is it really?
I think so. It's
would
a good
believe
amount.
That wouldn't surprise
Beefy.
me.
This is my copy, and it's like bigger than my head and like hella thick.
Mine is
It's weird
tiny,
for
but
me to
also
see
like the
that on my-
typescript is hella small. I don't even see it, but yeah.
Yeah, my typescript is pretty big.
Mhm.
I like big font.
Me too.
I complained to Caillou about this while I was reading, but I have this really, really terrible habit of flipping ahead and then reading
Same.
ahead.
Oh no, you
Same.
And then, it gets worse. And then I
You-
Wikipedia the characters.
Oh,
You
yeah,
what?
I also do that.
So, like, I read
Oh.
in Wikipedia that Starling is an occasional romantic partner to Fitz. But I read that before we got to the near end of the book. And I'm
You're
like,
like, it's gotta happen soon, right?
what? And I was like real mad at him for cheating on Molly, especially
Yeah.
when he knew that she was pregnant and had a child. And,
Mhm.
by the time that actually ended up happening, I was like, oh, fine, whatever. Like, might as well.
Yeah.
I also do that. I'm doing that right now. I'm reading Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight Archive series, and I definitely like Wikipedia'd a character and saw who they end up marrying. And it was like another character, and I was like, oh,
you two are the worst.
Well-
You two are the very worst. I could never do that. I avoid spoilers so much until it's accidental. And I accidentally spoiled myself for the
Uh-huh.
last trilogy.
sometimes
It was impossible not to. If you look up anything because you're obsessed with the fandom, like, you get spoiled.
See,
Another
for-
spoiler I read on Wikipedia was that Ketrikin's child was biologically Fitz's. And I'm like,
How does that happen?
like before you got to that part in the book.
Yeah.
like halfway through the book, I Wikipedia'd that. And I'm like, I think I read that actually before we knew that she lost the first child. So
Oh, geez.
Oh,
it was like, I
You're
thought
like,
that the
she-
first child, like,
was
you know,
Fitz's?
I'm like I think I read that Ketrikin had a child who was heir to the throne. And I was like, well, yeah, that makes sense. She's pregnant. And then she loses the child. And I'm like, wait a second. What? And then I think I looked it up again. And really, I'm not reading a whole bunch into this. I'm just like seeing enough to make me stop. And then it was like,
You're like, oh, this is bad.
Like, this child is male. And it's Fitz's. And I'm like, I'm gonna X out of that tab. And I'm gonna Snapchat Caillou and complain about my own terrible habits.
Yeah, and remind me, what is the last thing that you saw when spoiling yourself?
Can I say? Or is that a spoiler for future series?
Everybody who hasn't read future series, plug your ears right now.
Okay.
Yeah, just
We'll wave our hands when it's over.
Or how about
The
I'll pin this comment about the Sanderson Stormlight archive until
And when it's
the
done,
spoilers are
it's
over.
So the last spoiler I read was that the fool is Fitz's soulmate. And I'm like,
Oh, I don't think that's spoiling anything.
No, I don't either.
what? Like, I think I also know that he marries Molly at some point.
I spoiled that on accident for you in the intro episode. I remember you
Yes.
sending, Caillou showed us a Snapchat that you sent where you were like, I wanted to get to know them, so I listened to the intro episode, and then Leah said that Fitz marries Molly. And I was like, oh
Yeah, so, but like, you didn't, I mean, kind of did that at my own risk. So I know that. And so I'm like, okay, well, if he marries Molly, then how is the fool his soulmate?
So many questions, none of them going to
I
be
feel
answered in
like-
the next trilogy because they don't show up.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
you're going to have to wait several months.
I feel
Yeah.
like that's more of a
Yeah.
opinion.
The next comment is right. I
Yeah.
mean, it should be obvious already.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, so? I mean, I feel like...
What, you've never given the homies a loving kiss on the mouth? Come on now.
Come up to Utah, Caillou. I'll show you how it's I
Look.
mean, I personally am not a practicer of that, but I can imagine that you could give a platonic homie kiss.
But yeah, that's
I am under the impression that you are allowed to have multiple soulmates because I do call my cats my soulmates. So
Oh, yeah, my dog is definitely
I'm
my...
just going to say that.
My dog is my second soulmate because my first dog was my first soulmate.
Mm.
I do
like-
like that, like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll be disappointed if the fool and Fitz become romantic. Kiss the bros goodnight. That's right. You gotta kiss those homies goodnight. Because I like that it is making a statement about platonic love, to be like, hey, platonic love can be just as powerful and saving and good as romantic love, and there are lots of different kinds of love, and I like that sentiment.
Mhm.
But also,
I agree
like,
with you.
are they platonic though?
You have to keep reading, but I think that either way, I think that you will enjoy how it's executed.
Mhm.
I like that Fitz is like, hey, no homo, and the fool is like, you don't know what gender I am.
Can we talk about Verity? Because I'm still sad.
Oh.
This is the last chance we're gonna get to talk about it.
He got a
So
super sick ending. Who doesn't want to turn into a dragon?
But he's basically dead.
Like, on this read, I noticed that his last words as a person are saying, like, I love you or I'm proud of you or something like that to Fitz.
I
And
know.
that, like, broke me. I was
Same. I was crying. I was like, Jesus.
I think he was also like, I'm sorry, I had to use you and put you through so much, but like I still love you, and it's like it's both so sweet, but there's also like that edge of bitter because it's like Fitz is like, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that.
right.
Yeah. And I liked that. I feel like both Fitz and Ketchikan at the end there wanted to help, right? Like, let us help you carve the dragon. Let us help you finish this. And to both of them, he's like, no. But I'll let, like, Nettle, or what was her name? Kettle?
Kettle.
I'll let Kettle help me. That's
Nettle is his daughter.
She better not be carving any dragon right now. She's a baby.
Right. So I understood, like, that was just sad, right? Like, I understood that Ketchikan wanted to help and couldn't help, other than just, like, cleaning the rock away. And Fitz wanted to help, and he was like, I've put you through too much. I can't have you put yourself in the dragon. I've already put you in the dragon through me, and that's not fair. And let me protect you. And I love you. And shut up, you're a little twit.
Yeah, it's so interesting because like lots of the series at like the start of the book, it's like Fitz being like, I hate how you guys use me, and like I don't feel like I have any agency. At the end of the book, it's like, how dare you not use me?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I am your
I'm
tool.
here at your disposal.
What the fuck did I come here for?
I kind of forgot how far gone Verity is, because I remember when I was going into this, I was like, I kind of feel like Verity should just have Fitz put himself into the dragon, and then Verity goes home with his queen and rules Buckkeep. But by the time they even get there, Verity is way too far gone to do that.
Yeah. Well, he thought that he was the last hope. Like, there was no way that he could have done anything. So he just went in full-fledged.
Right.
I do like, though, that Verity dies. because it means that he and Kettricken were ultimately very well matched because he is sacrifice.
Yeah, that's what I said throughout the book.
I also sometimes forget about their age difference.
Same. I always forget about that
closer
after the beginning.
Fitz's age, right?
And Kettrick's like so mature compared to like everyone.
Yeah.
Well, she's been through so much. Like, I think after she gets married in the first book, she goes through a lot that would definitely age anybody, I think, or at least make them grow up, because she was that innocent, like naive little girl at the beginning when she like
poisons Fitz.
And then she like, I think she really grows up in Royal Assassin.
It's funny when you get to know her to remember back that she poisoned him in the first.
Yeah.
And she's just like, sorry about that.
Right.
You're chill though, right?
Poisoned wine between friends. Like, let's let bygones be bygones.
Yeah.
I think I had a hard time getting a handle on Kettricken. Because I always, she was so... I mean, there was that scene in Royal Assassin where she goes to the front lines and fights. And then she goes back to Buckkeep and continues to be manipulated by Regal. And I'm like, I thought you were stronger than that. And so I kind of had a hard time handling her character and seeing what kind of strengths she has and what kind of strengths she doesn't have.
I think
and it's kind of difficult because she like develops some of those strengths as you go.
Yeah.
I think I definitely, when reading Royal Assassin, I was like, whoa, this is weird, because I remember like the Kettricken who's in Assassin's Quest or like in Tawny Man.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think that it's hard though, because Regal was really the only man in her life who was giving her attention and everything like that. And not saying that she was like desperate for attention, but she really wanted to be with Verity and to have spending time with him. But he's out here like every day saying he's got to go like up in his tower, and he locks himself away and he can't be with her. And then at night he's like exhausted and goes to sleep. So she's like, fuck, like he doesn't even like me. And then Regal's over here like following at her footsteps every time and like obsessed with her, trying to get her to turn to him. So she like plays into it, not plays into it, but she like lets him give
Which
her.
is why then Jade says, hey, Fitz, you should probably go spend some time with Kettricken.
Yes.
I think we feel that way in this trilogy about Kettricken, like a little confused, because that's how Fitz feels about her too.
Yeah.
So we're getting like, we're looking at her from his very like not reliable perspective.
And not very knowledgeable about like women or their feelings or any of that stuff.
And it's weird because he's like, most of all of anyone should understand how it feels to be excluded at Buckkeep. But he's just like grown into being such a part of Buckkeep that he's like, damn, that's wild.
Yeah, it must suck.
Yeah.
I also think that like his hatred of Regal blinds him to so much. And I think it's like he's like, he tried to kill your brother, or like, no way, he succeeded in killing your brother. Wow. And it's like,
yeah,
she tried to poison him. She's like being mature and trying to like make that bridge of like, politics sometimes happens like this, and like if the king has forgiven him, then I guess I will too. Which like I don't think it's ever explicitly said like that, but like I feel like it's implied in how she like conducts herself, and just Fitz doesn't see that.
Yeah, and I don't believe that she ever really trusts Regal, or like, I think she knows kind of that he's not to be trusted, but she is trying to do whatever she thinks she needs to do to like warm the people up to her, or like understand this new court life. And Regal's like the only person that seems willing to help her. So I think she feels kind of stuck.
Yeah, and she's like, it's kind of like Regal is going to like let me have a horse and go for a ride. I want to go for a ride. Like, sure, he can be there, but then obviously Verity comes out and is like, this looks bad, and also you could have gotten hurt, but he just doesn't understand any of
Right.
that. Fortunately, he comes to, but yeah.
Yeah, and Kettrigan's still learning how to play the part and play the game that is like the court at Buckkeep.
Yeah.
Right. And there's, culture shock and politics. And she's also like 18.
Right.
And maybe a little bit of like a language barrier too. Because like the Six Duchies language is definitely not her native language.
Maybe.
Definitely at least a cultural difference, because like everyone's like, she's weird.
Yeah.
And she's like, these people are so vapid.
She's like, what do they want from me? I don't understand. So I guess that's fair enough. I don't know. I personally have never been a queen in waiting for a kingdom. Which is
Simply
a personal
cannot relate.
feeling of mine.
Mine too.
I've always like seen her as kind of and I don't know if this is just my brain associating the Mountain Kingdom with her, but I've seen her as kind of like cold and stoic and like mysterious, even though I've read like the whole trilogy.
Like, I think that that's the face that she puts on when she's addressing the court and when she like really becomes the queen of Buckkeep. But
Right.
when she's just like with her ladies or with like Patience or Fitz, she lets her guard down and becomes like who she was in the Mountain Kingdom.
Yeah, like has a little bit more of a personality.
Because I think she was so warm and like welcoming and very like free in the Mountain Kingdom, but then she's got restraints put on her by society, and then she puts restraints on her when
herself.
she's there too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she still ends up like the most empathetic character out of anyone.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Except for when
I think Night Eyes is more empathetic.
Okay, you know what? Fair.
She's not very empathetic when she makes Fitz stand in front of a circle of people and recount all of his traumatic experiences. I'm still a little bit mad at her about that.
I think that I'm more like, I think I understand why she did that. And yes, it's super rude and like it was annoying of her to do that. Like she should have cut him off sooner than she did.
Mm-hmm.
But like I think that was probably like maybe a month or two. Like I don't think it was very long since she'd lost her child. So like she's dealing with like probably a lot of hormones with that. So it's not like she's really in her right mind at that point. And she thinks that her husband's dead. So she's like, there's no hope for me. So like, why care about anything at all?
And like, she's pissed at him because she's like, she doesn't know like the full story. She's just like, you where the fuck did you go? You didn't come and help us?
Right.
Like,
she probably expected him to like meet up with her and the Fool on the road to the Mountain Kingdom. And when he didn't come, she probably blames him a little bit, as well as like mostly herself for losing the child.
She's been talking with Shade as well. So I think she knows that he's supposed to be dead. But I think she's also probably mad that like, if you were alive, why didn't you tell us? I think there's probably like, there's definitely a little bit of like, she definitely like still cares that he's alive. But I think that there's like the anger is like subsuming that.
Because they were friends. Well, she thought they were friends, and she thinks that he's like keeping a lot of secrets from her.
Right. Yeah, I know she has her reasons, but it's just so hard to read that part.
Absolutely.
I mean, having reasons doesn't make it a right thing. It just makes it an understandable thing.
Right. Yep.
Like Regal has his reasons for thinking that for like Verity and Fitz are after him, and he's very much not right.
Yeah. I love the like page and a half that we get from Regal's point of view towards the end of the book, because like I think I said this in our final episode for this trilogy, but like he is just batshit fucking bonkers.
Yes.
Like,
he's totally disconnected from reality.
Right.
Yeah.
Like he's totally bonkers. It's like fun to read that perspective. It's like the reason that sometimes I would like reading Cersei's point of view in Game of Thrones, because it's like, this bitch is bonkers.
Yeah.
And it's like interesting to read it from her point of view.
And it's so gratifying to see that he's starting to have like seizures. It's kind of like karma's kicking in already. And you're like, that's what you get.
And then Small Ferret eats him.
Yes.
And it's so sad.
Small Ferret saves the whole series for sure.
The redemption arc or revenge arc that we didn't know we needed.
Right.
Incredible.
I was very emotionally impacted by Night Eyes leaving. I was like, wait, what? Sorry, where's my puppy? Where's my dog?
The abandonment is rough.
Yeah, and you know, you just kind of, I didn't know what to think, right? Like, I don't have expectations in these books. I don't know what to expect, so I'm like, maybe I hope Night Eyes comes back, please, for me.
And he does eventually.
He does.
He's gone for a long time though. Like a good amount of the book, it's like Fitz bumbling along by himself because he does not do anything very well when he's all on his own.
No.
Especially versus skill users. Night Eyes carries all of
Night
that.
Eyes carries the team and he's not even skilled.
Right. I think it's really funny when near the end of the book they can like kind of connect to Night Eyes and they're like, oh, this isn't just some dog. This is like a warrior. And Night Eyes is like, yes, I am. Scratch my ears about it. Why don't you?
Yes. Yeah, that's always good. Because it's weird, like we never see him as anything other than he is as like this smart, almost person in an animal body. But everyone else just sees him as like a scary animal that like Fitz can control or something.
Right.
I love like the fool is like slobbery mess.
Yeah, so rude.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
the cringiest part of the book, I think, for me, was when the fool was very obviously not controlling himself and like trying to eke out the location of Molly. I'm like, Fitz, shut up, stop, talk, no.
Meanwhile, Fitz is like, I'm going to die. Oh, woe is me.
Yeah, it's so dumb. I'm like, you are so, like, that was so hard to read.
It's a wonder he survived as Shade's apprentice for real.
I think that of the characters I'm going to miss most when reading Live Ships, it's definitely going to be Night Eyes, but at least we'll get him back in Tawny Man. So, yeah.
I love Night Eyes. He's my favorite forever.
Same.
So,
He's the funniest one too.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's him and then the fool and then nobody else really.
Like literally. So every once in a while Fitz will say something funny, but usually it's on accident.
Yeah. But it's surprising enough to like make you laugh out loud a little bit because you're like, oh my God, I didn't realize you were like kind of smart sometimes.
Right.
Well, and it's usually gallows humor. It's either completely unintended or gallows. And you're like, yeah, all right, kid.
Yeah. Or he's hopped up on like carrot seeds or something. And
yeah, when he's high, he's very funny.
Yes. And that was what we got to experience him high like 3 times this series, I think.
2 or 3 times.
Yeah. Imagine if instead of elf bark, he was on carrot seed constantly for a lot more interesting
things he would get done and like the adventures he would have had. He would have built himself a mansion.
Yep.
He would be dead at the start of Royal Assassin. Burridge would have had to bring him back like then, and he would be in like Smithy or something.
Yeah.
I think that part of the reason I expected that it wouldn't be able to be wrapped up in the last 30 pages is because I'm like, they have made 0 progress towards finishing the war. Like, I don't think I realized that Verity finishing the dragon ended the war. And so, like, this war that's been going on for 3 books, for 1,500 pages, ends in a page and a half, where it's like, and then Verity went and scorched him.
Yeah.
And the fool helped him sometimes.
Yeah.
And they lived happily ever after. Except for Fitz, who went and lived in the woods and did not go and tell Molly he was still alive because he's a bastard, in more ways than one.
And he's depressed. But it's an ending.
Yeah. I think that what you thought was the same way of thinking that everyone else, like Kettrikin and Fitz for sure. I'm not sure what the fool was thinking, but definitely what those two are like. They're like, he's carving this dragon and it's not going to do anything. Right. Or he's carving this dragon and he's not going to finish it. And so we're all going to have to hike back home and then still have to deal with the war.
Well, and at one point they know that they're like basically trapped in that quarry. So it's like, if he doesn't finish the dragon, we're all just waiting here for the army to get here and kill us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that I believed that he would finish the dragon. I think that I underestimated how powerful the dragon would be.
Well, to be fair, they woke up all of the dragons.
Yeah, I don't know that they would have accomplished I know that they wouldn't have accomplished what they accomplished if it was only Verity. Or it at least would have taken a lot longer. But because Fitz and Night Eyes were able... Right. Because Fitz and Night Eyes were able to wake up all the other dragons, they could kind of take the whole summer to do what they needed to do as a dragon army.
Right.
Fun summertime vacation idea. Just marauding the coast with your dragon buddies.
Dragon Tales version 2.
Rated R, PG-13 at least. There's got to be a lot of violence, but I mean, with the way they like low-key forge you a little bit when they fly over, like you're not gonna remember, so it's fine.
That's right.
Yeah, how much do they? I feel like they just kind of like they just forge them and then just break the ships. And it's like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I think I would really dislike the ending of this book if I didn't have Tawny Man, because Tawny Man really, basically every like question mark or at the end of the series sort of continues onwards into Tawny Man. So
yeah.
I was pretty upset that Molly never found out that Fitz was alive.
Yeah.
I don't love that Fitz thinks that he gets to decide what's best for her to know and not know.
Yeah.
Or what he convinces himself is best for her, but is in reality what he thinks is best for himself.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
Well, it's also like he knows what it would do to Birch. Like Birch would never be able to look Fitz in the eyes, like after everything that happened between him and Molly. And he would up and abandon Molly. And Fitz would be like floundering because he doesn't know how to raise a kid. And he is like still dealing with his own trauma and like trying to get over everything. So I think that Fitz made the right decision, but it is rude of him not to like include Molly in making that decision.
They could have
like, there's a way that it could happen.
They could have like traded Nettle off on the weekends to go hang out with Fitz.
Yeah, get a judge to sign a parent time order.
Okay. So now I know it was definitely the right decision. No child should be around Fitz.
Hap turns out okay.
Hap abandons. We're not supposed to be talking about
that.
What
are you
I stopped.
You are very lucky that I got a text and was distracted, so I have no idea what's going.
Cool.
Oh my god. We do this at least once a live stream for sure. Mm-hmm. Last time it was us laughing that Fitz doesn't go back to Bucky.
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like that laugh could be interpreted many ways. So
I can't control my face, so
that's why it's
not my fault.
Oh, I remember. I think I made a meme hold on. I think I can find it. Yes. Okay. I found it immediately. I don't know if this is going to work.
Just
I
post it
can
in chat.
see it, but I can't.
It's not visible.
It says, I don't know that I can post it in chat because it's on my phone.
Okay.
But it's like hey blank, we thought you were dead. And that's like Regal hearing stories of some wolf dude terrorizing the countryside. Like, hey Fitz, we thought you were dead.
Yeah.
That's just everyone like, Fitz? Hello?
Yeah,
Like-
that's true.
Fitz, like, it'd be fun to read a book from someone's perspective that's not on Fitz's side, because Fitz would be terrifying.
Yeah.
Like, he can never die. He just bonds with like dangerous animals. He's always like lurking in the shadows or like wandering around the woods at night.
Yeah.
That
it's
would
just,
be
like,
scary.
and no one knows like the extent of his powers, so they just always assume that he does like one superhuman thing, and it's like, well, everything I've ever heard about witted people is true.
Yep.
Well, and he doesn't know what kind of power he has.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
He's like, I'm just along for the ride. I'm gonna make one stupid decision after the next because I'm not told anything.
Yep. Exactly.
That is true.
Which, actually earlier I said that he wasn't relatable, but I'm in my early 20s right now, and that pretty
I think that he's really relatable. Just usually when you say relatable, it's like, oh yeah, this character's cool, and I like them because I feel like they're like me. Here it's like, no, God, this is reflecting the worst of me. Get it away from me. I don't want to think about this.
Yep.
like, oh, I also kind of bumble around from one thing to the next because I don't have all the answers. Hopefully I'm doing it better than that poor guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a rare occasion that you're like, oh, good call, Fitz.
Have we ever been like that? Ever?
Yeah, every once in a while he'll do something like poisoning all the guards.
Oh yeah.
Like,
And even that he manages
he
to.
surprised me then
Mess
in
up.
that moment. Because I kept being like, what is he going to do? Why is he just rolling with this? What's going to happen? I don't understand. Why is he doing this? And then he was like, the guards all got sick and died. And I was like, oh, you're smart.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, when he went, what is the name of Regal's castle? Tradeford.
Bradford.
When he did the Tradeford thing, that was a cringe fest galore. I'm like, why are you taking his shirt off? Why are you dragging him into the fountain? Why are you putting his clothes on? Why are you doing any of this? This is you're so stupid.
The one thing that he does that like really drives me crazy in that scene is taking his shirt off to like sop up blood. Because it's like, if you left your shirt on then and didn't get blood on you, then you could continue doing things and still be inconspicuous.
And also, why are you sopping up the blood? It's not like you can actually clean it up.
Right. It's just
Yeah.
like so dumb.
Sometimes he doesn't think that well. But I think that
If this was
at that
adapted to a
point,
TV
Will
show, that
wasn't
would be
really
the
like
mandatory,
influencing
like,
him, right?
in your contract, you have to get shirtless scene. Like,
Alex, what were you saying?
At that point, Will wasn't influencing him because I feel like he should have been with the way
Yeah, I
he
think that,
acts
like,
sometimes.
they find the body, and then Will like reaches out for him and starts messing with him.
Yeah. I think that Will is the scariest person in the entire series.
You're not
And I
wrong.
love him, actually.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm sad that he ended up going out as just like a host for Regal's parasite skilling.
Yeah.
I love when he gets his leg eaten though.
Wait, I don't remember that.
Some like a dragon bites off his leg or something. He has no leg. That's why he's like, that's his mortal wound that he's like dying from.
Yeah, and he's
On
just,
top of
like,
being
crawling.
leeched by Regal.
Oh.
Mhm. Yeah, when Fitz is just like watching him and waiting for him to die.
Yeah.
Wacky. For loving Will, I sure don't remember very much about the end. of Will.
No, see, that's exactly. You love Will so much that you're just like, wow, this sucks. Time to blot it all out.
Uh-huh.
Remember him as he was.
It's fitting though for like the way that Regal is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That like, if he had more respect for his underlings and gave them more agency, he might have actually managed to win the war. But since he's such a control freak, he ends up like losing that final skirmish in the Dragon Garden.
Right. I was really disoriented when Fitz woke up in that weird old city. I was like, wait a second, is this really happening or is this a dream?
Oh my gosh, the first time I read it, that part confused me.
It was
so
scary.
bad. I didn't understand that he went through a pillar, so I thought he just like somehow stumbled upon a big city and then got lost. And I was like, how do you do that?
I straight up thought it was a dream. Like
I thought it was a dream.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually I'm like, this isn't a dream, and now I'm scared.
All the ghost people, like, I don't know how he held it together and like actually slept. I would not be able to sleep when I was randomly seeing ghost apparitions.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, there's that
so scary.
There's that John Mulaney line where you're like, this might as well happen.
Yeah.
This was like that. He was like, adult life is already just so goddamn weird. This might as well happen.
Right. He just got to a point where he was like, okay, well, this is what's
my life now.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, I don't know. I just work here.
He's like, I closed my eyes and tried not to think about like ghost cats or something like that.
Yes.
Like,
yeah, that's the line that I was just thinking of.
Why is the ghost cat the scariest thing for him? It's not
because he's a dog person.
Yeah,
it needs to calm down.
Reading this series, I feel like they describe food in a very enticing way. And so for like a week after I finished it, I was like, I'm gonna have bread and honey for breakfast and be like I'm in the Six Duchies.
If you have Instagram, there's an Instagram account. I think it's called Recipes from Buck.
I think you shared that with me.
Yeah, it's so. I want to eat everything that they make.
I am always so hungry reading the books. So like seeing it actually be made is like, I would just want this to be a restaurant so that I can sit and eat here every day.
Yep.
Like I would spend all of my money. And then I would sleep outside of the restaurant waiting for it to open up in the morning so I could have yummy breakfast.
Maybe we should have Assassin's Apprentice a theme park land where the rides are running with wolves and eating poison. I don't know.
Eating poison. I'm trying to.
I was thinking it could be like rowing on one of
the. Like a ship ride.
Mm-hmm.
It would just be work. Like we'd all have to be working.
That's
like
true.
Mucking the stalls, like fixing stuff. Like it would not be a fun theme park, I don't think.
Or like getting our asses kicked in like the sparring round.
Yes. Oh, that would be
well, yeah. In Buckkeep Castle, you can take a little bit of coke and then run through the halls and be like,
with all the candles are blue.
Yes.
So I clicked on the link. Whoever put that in chat, thank you. And there's a picture of Night Eyes. That's so cute. This is a great Instagram account. It's making me hungry. So also, I hate that you put this in chat. How dare you?
It's so good.
Yeah. They all look delicious. And
it's like a botanical garden.
Yes. We'll have it divided, and one side will be all the poisonous herbs and one side will be all the like cooking herbs.
But we don't tell people which side is which.
Yes. We have like a tour guide who's Ketrican that goes around like subtly poisoning all our like attendees.
What's the thing that the Fool gives Fitz? We just give them like a complimentary like it's like sea something.
I don't remember.
Sea Purge. It's a thing that.
Oh yeah.
That like.
Yeah, when he gets poisoned. Yeah, I'm like, what? All I kept thinking of
to make him
like, leaf tea that he kept like forcing down Fitz's throat.
Yeah. Sea spurge, yeah. That's what
Spurge.
comment says. This is great. So let's pool our money. I have like $10 I can give.
I have 30 cents and a little bit of lint. Let's go.
Yes. I found a penny on the floor and I just left it there, so I've got one.
I've got half a bagel.
I think that's enough, guys. I think we can buy a theme park with that.
I think we've got this.
We need to approach Robin Hobb's people, like let our people mingle with her people, get it.
Our
situated.
people.
Find
Our
people
people.
first.
Feel like we run a pretty successful podcast.
Yes.
Like our people will talk to your people.
And then we just like put on like a fake mustache and like change our voice, and it's like, hello, I'm the agent for
Yes.
the realm.
Oh, it's Sea Purge.
Mm-hmm. Yep, shout out.
Yeah, I definitely don't remember that at all.
I vaguely do. I just remember that it makes him throw up a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which he can't be talking while he's throwing up, so it's kind of a 2-for-1 in the fool's favor. I'm trying to think about who else is there. I guess Burrage, Shade. Shade actually gets to do a lot in this book in an interesting way.
Yeah, well, it's all through dreams. Like we see him at Jump, and then everything after that is dreams. And I was like, I think that everybody in this book is uglier than they are unless told otherwise. And so
apparently Shade is hot enough to just be like,
He's a farseer, though, you guys. What do you expect?
well, I expect him to have a bad complexion.
yeah.
Because he kept being
he's
like,
so
I'm
charismatic.
so and that's why he was like hiding.
I think I also expect him to be very old because he's the same generation as Shrewd. And so that dream where it's like there's some naked lady doing strategy with him and flirting with him, and I'm like, dude,
This is weird.
I don't think Shrewd was very old. I think Shrewd was probably only in his 40s or 50s.
No, because Verity was in his 30s at the beginning of Assassin's Apprentice.
Shrewd is like early 60s,
like
I think.
60. I think Shrewd was like at least in his like mid to late 60s.
Yeah, he was old for that time.
Yeah.
But there's no way Shade is like 70 in these books.
No. Isn't she?
I mean,
Shade's Shrewd's older brother.
He's
So
old.
we
Oh,
know
I forgot
what
that. Okay, then I guess Shade is like has to be like 50.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I
I
don't
think
know,
by
you
the time
guys.
Shrewd dies, he's in his 50s. Because at the end of Assassin's Quest, Verity is in.
And he probably like ages like quicker because of the whatchamacallit.
I could
cancer.
see Shade being in his 60s in this series.
I could see
don't
him
think
being
that's
in his
that old. And if he
early
looks
60s.
younger, because it's not like he went out in the sun or anything, so like he probably doesn't have a ton of wrinkles. He's got like a great skincare routine because he doesn't want the pox to be showing. Like
he's also like super charismatic. You know how someone like maybe they aren't that attractive to you, but if they're really charismatic or have a good personality, they'll seem more attractive.
And it's not like he acts his age when he's out of his tower.
Right.
Or he starts acting the way that he feels.
Also, Fitz thinks everybody is 100 years old.
Yeah,
This
like
is true. And when the war started,
Burge is like old and ugly. Burge is like one of the hottest people in Bucky Cassie.
Yeah, right.
Fitz thinks Shade is ugly. Turns out to be the most eligible bachelor. Fitz thinks he's ugly. And
everyone's like, Fitz,
and Molly and Kettrick are like,
well, so
and Starling.
Yeah.
And Starling and Tassin and whoever else he comes across.
Yeah, everyone thinks Fitz is a hunk. Well, so when the war starts, everyone's like, hey, Chade looks better. Like, War agrees with Chade. It's like he's melting off the years. So I thought that was interesting. When Kettricken was like, hey, Fitz, you could get it if you wanted. I'm like, this is weird and not relevant. And by the end of the book, like, she's kind of got
It was weird and relevant.
Yeah.
it became relevant, and I'm like, oh well, like at least the last night that she gets to spend with her husband, she's not repelled by the body that he is in.
Mm-hmm.
Still weird.
That
Very.
part like made me cringe so hard. I was like, why are you saying that to him? You're his aunt.
It's
But they're
not like
also,
they're
like, the
related
same.
by blood.
I
know.
know, but it's just weird.
I mean, I think that I was like, okay, well, he looks like she misses Verity.
He looks
and
like
Fitz
Verity.
looks like Verity.
Mhm.
And so I guess I understand this a little bit. That's not exactly how she said it, though.
I would understand it more if Verity was dead. But
Yeah.
Sure.
he still thinks that he's alive.
Right.
So I was like, this isn't really an appropriate conversation.
Right. And then later it becomes extremely relevant. And I'm like, oh.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
I think I was, because I had spoiled for myself, like, that Fitz and Ketrican were going to sire a child. I think by the time I got there, I was like, okay, I just want to figure out how that works rather than actually being shocked by it. Whereas I think if I hadn't spoiled it for myself, I would have been like, what? Wait a second, that's your nephew. And now I'm like, I just want to, like, okay, I get it now.
I don't think she's ever seen Fitz as her nephew. It's always been like, oh, my husband's younger brother. Or like my husband's nephew or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
that
'cause
guy I
there's
tried
no
to kill one
age.
time.
Like, Ketrican's only probably 5 years or less.
Yeah.
Older.
That's what we always thought. I think we did a little bit of math.
Mm-hmm.
Not that we're very
Never
good at
again.
math, but it's not like Fitz is very good at like telling us ages. So it's
Fitz
not
never
our
tells
fault.
us
Bad
anything.
at it.
No. He's terrible at it. I
We
want
will
like
given.
someone to make a chart or something where I can see like, okay,
There probably
Assassin's
is one on
Apprentice,
Reddit.
how old is all the characters?
We
Mhm.
need
Royal
Brian.
Assassin, how
We
old?
need Brian David Gilbert to do an Unraveled about it.
We need Robin Hobb to just tell us how old they are.
Yeah.
Come
Right.
on,
She's
woman.
like,
Every
never.
once in a while, Fitz will drop a number, like, and I like cling to those like they're gold.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the time where
But
he's
then
like,
they say that
when I
age
made my
forever.
first kill, I was 13, and it's like, oh,
Yeah, it's like, oh, we have an age.
Right. The whole Burrick being hot thing was news to me.
Yeah, because Fitz always describes him as like an elderly disabled man. Not
Yeah.
that you can't be hot if you're elderly and disabled, but Fitz does not describe him in a hot way at
yeah,
all.
he's
Fitz
like
is
he's
ableist,
hunched
I think.
over, and he looks 20 years older than he is, and
Yeah,
he's like,
he like just stomps around glowering at everybody.
yeah, like Fitz makes him sound like
He's grouchy.
intimidating, like the Hunchback
Right.
of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's so odd, the ending. Like, Fitz has so many people that love him, and he's like,
He doesn't see it.
I
at
am
all.
going to practice self-care by isolating myself with my dog in the woods. And I'm like, that's not a coping mechanism, honey. That's self-destruction.
Yeah, I think the problem is that like lots of the options, or like he sees like the one option to reconnect himself with the people he cares about as going back to Buckkeep, and it's like this in his mind. It's like this whole domino effect of like, if I go back to Buckkeep, I will have to see Burrich or Molly. If I see Burrich or Molly, it will tear them apart, and it will tear me apart as a result. So I can't be with Ketrican or Patience. The other people who care about me, Verity is dead. The Fool is gone, God knows where. Though, and therefore, it's just me and Night Eyes against the world.
And Starling sometimes when he's horny.
Yes, and
Yeah,
Starling
when
sometimes
she like deigns to show up on his doorstep.
have a
Right.
child.
Right. Here's an 8-year-old.
No.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
No, that is at the end of Assassin's Quest. He does get a kid.
Oh, good.
If
That's
you
crazy.
came across a small child and you're like, this person needs a home, would you be like, my hermit friend?
No.
I think it speaks more to like Starling not having any other friends, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, she has no one else to give this kid to. Poor Hap.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine Fitz being your dad?
No.
No.
Poor
No.
guy.
Although, like, if I grew up just with my dad by the sea and our huge dog on like a farm, I feel like I'd be fine with that.
Oh, me too.
But what if the dad was Fitz?
No.
Mm.
If I had to like constantly drag my dad back home from a bench where he's like getting high and zoning out, I would not be a fan of it.
Yeah, and Hap has to like clean up after Fitz like falls asleep on his desk after getting like
Yeah.
high off elf bark.
I
That's a
think
good point.
like what I think is odd is that knowing what we know about Fitz, that he would ever decide to write any of this down in the first place. Like, I guess he can write because he's got the scribe stuff, and so he can write. It's just that he is such a private person that I'm almost shocked that he even makes an account.
I think it's that he won't talk about it with anybody, so that's like his only way of getting it out.
I guess.
And he does say, I think at the beginning of Assassin's Apprentice, or maybe the beginning of, or the end of Royal Assassin or something, he does talk about how, like, whenever he ends up talking about his own history, he always just ends up burning the pages when he's done writing. Like, he writes until
like
it's all out, and then he just burns it.
Yeah, like
So I
the
don't think
original
it's like
goal.
something that he just keeps lying around.
Yeah, I mean he does keep it lying around, but that's he like tries to dispose of it.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I think it's surprising because of the way that Fitz has shown himself, but it makes sense, sort of. Like it makes sense for like him needing some sort of catharsis.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
yeah.
So how old is he by the time he writes this down?
Like
I
30?
think, yeah.
He's probably around Verity's age when the series started.
Really?
I think so, yeah.
Mhm.
Interesting. I wish that he had gone back. I don't remember their names, but like the witted people.
He does go back.
Black Rolf.
Yeah. Wait. He goes back and figures out what he needs to learn from them.
He stays with them for a
He
while.
stays with them for a little bit, but then like
but it's like
we don't get to see any of that.
Yeah, it's like off page. Like he'll mention like we traveled around, we stayed with Black Rolf for a while, we did whatever, and then we ended up back in our hut.
Okay.
I wish he spent more time with witted people because I'm so fascinated by like the depth of the powers available to them.
Yeah.
Do we learn more about that in future trilogies?
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. All of this talk is just making me wish we could skip straight to Tawny Men.
No.
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 We're gonna be good.
I'm not ready.
No.
I guess like the last two characters to talk about then from Assassin's Quest would be Starling, who knew, and like there's a bunch of new characters who are introduced in this book, and I feel like that's all misdirection for like how important Starling ends up becoming, and then have to talk about the Fool. Obviously.
Yeah. Do you like Starling?
also
How do you
Kettle.
feel about Starling?
I like Starling. She grew on me.
Yeah, she's very important to Stumpy.
Stumpy makes me laugh so hard.
In like Spanish, they call him like
Traspy or something.
Like yeah,
but
it
put
translates to Stumpy
in Google
if you put it in Google Translate, yeah. But I think someone said I posted.
Wait, who is Stumpy?
Fitz.
So we got like a comment in Spanish, and we just put it in Google Translate, and it was talking about Starling, and one of the lines is she is very important to Stumpy. And Stumpy is supposed to be Fitz, and it's just become like
I guess the translation like in Spanish is a person that is like a mistake,
Okay.
but that doesn't translate in Google Translate, it just says Stumpy.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
It made me like cry laugh when I first read it.
Because Fitz just means son, right?
Yeah.
It's I think it's specifically bastard.
Mhm.
I
See,
think
I don't
originally it
believe
meant son, but then like it slowly morphed into bastard.
Yeah.
because like I feel like there are people like maybe Irish people who have the name like Fitzpatrick,
Usually,
like
I
the son
think,
of Patrick.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, for him to be Fitzchivalry, I was like, yeah, just chivalry's son. But like the implication is that because he's chivalry's son, he is a bastard.
Well, they
Yeah.
call him the Fitz, and that
Yeah,
means
like
like
the
the
son.
bastard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
At
think
least
it's
in this book, it means bastard, but it might not mean bastard in
I think that
our world.
linguistically, the word Fitz means son, and within the context of this book, everyone's like, it's implied that for that dude, it means bastard.
I think it's specifically Fitz because like Burrich, when he's like trying to get people to like respect Fitz, he's like, "Your Fitz chivalry, make them." So I think like Fitz chivalry is like not like it's like son of chivalry is whatever, but when they just call you Fitz, it's sort of like, oh yeah, you're just
the son.
Yeah, you're just another random son. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Anyway, what I think about Starling, she grew on me. I think that at first I saw her as competition for Molly. And listen, Molly's not like my favorite person in the series. But she's carrying his child, and I ship them, I guess. And I think that you should be faithful to your partner, especially if you got them pregnant.
Yeah.
And are still in love with them.
Mm-hmm.
And all those things are true for Molly. So for Starling to be like, hi, I'm some hot girl you're going to travel with, and I'm a little sassy, and you have no control over me. I'm like, hold on, girl.
Yeah.
He's spoken for.
She also is like blatantly disrespectful of his relationship that he's made very clear.
Right. So I didn't really like that at first. And then, he kind of tells her to back off, and she kind of backs off. And then later, she's like, hey, so I was sexually assaulted and would maybe like to replace those bad memories with some good ones. And he's like, yeah, but you already know my deal here, right? Like, you already know that I'm trying to get back to Molly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, cool motive, still bad.
Yeah.
And
then she like, I don't know. I'll let you continue, sorry.
Well, so by the time we get to the end and he gets his body back from Verity and Starling is like, hey. And he's like, sure. Right? Like, he's like, by that time he's decided he's not going back to Molly. And so she's just kind of catharsis. And I'm like, all right.
She's like worn him down.
Yes.
And then she's like, oh, you're in a very vulnerable state because you're heartbroken, and also someone just used your body to like bone someone else without telling you. So I'm going to take advantage of all the feelings you're feeling right now to get what I want and what I've been wanting the whole book.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't love that.
Yeah.
I also don't love that, like, she often, not always, but often does not contribute to the success of the party. She's like, I am here for my own purpose, which is to write the song.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, okay, but can you cook? Like, can you wash the dishes? Can you do something?
Anything other than be mean to the fool?
Right. I mean, she kind of helps in that one situation where he got by the brutes and she set the town on fire. That was helpful.
But that was mostly the smugglers, not her.
I think she killed doing that. Like, and she feels no remorse, I don't think.
No, and like, I guess I felt bad when she got her hand broken, but I don't think
you know her then, so you're like, oh geez, like this really sucks. And like I felt worse about her hand when I didn't know her very well.
Sure.
Alex and I
like-
do not have good feelings about Starling.
No,
I'm like, I have to be like,
I hate her.
see, I don't even like Starling that much, but like, I have to be the designated
has to
Starling defender.
He has to
because
defend
the other
her,
two are
yes.
like ready to throw
Well,
punches at the slightest provocation.
Before
We're
this reread,
ruthless.
I liked her. Before this reread, I was like, oh yeah, Starling, like, yeah, she's annoying, but like she's fine. Now I'm like, I hate her guts.
I am president of the Starling hate club.
And I have
I don't think I hate Starling. I think that, like, by the end of the book, I'm like, fine, you know? Like, given that he has decided not to go back to Molly, I'm all right with her
being
keeping
fuck
Fitz
buddy.
from being lonely. Sure.
She
She's
does
not
give
my
him a
favorite.
kid.
that's not hers.
Right. That she finds.
I brought you a present. It's a living being. Like that's worse than just
She's like,
getting
oh boy,
someone-
is it Elf Bark? And she's like, it's a person.
Yeah. It's some more responsibility because I know you need that in your life right now.
Because you are the most responsible person I know, Fitz.
I really feel like she was like, okay, so Night Eyes is like a person to you. Okay, so it's not a pet. So you have nothing to take care of. I'll get you a child. It's like, I can't get you a pet. Would that be disrespectful?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
She's like, I know he doesn't like cats, and he's already technically got a dog. So
And I'm
like,
already
what's the
giving
next
you
best thing?
sex. So
Right.
Night Eyes would eat any
Doesn't seem
rabbit
like a
that she
goldfish
brings.
kind of
Like,
person.
yeah, I think Starling is fine. She's not my favorite, but I don't hate her. I think that so I'm kind of a prude. Generally, as a person, we're learning things about Julia. I'm kind of a prude. And so part of me is like, do I dislike Starling just because she personally is making decisions that I would not make? Like, I don't know. I'm kind of a prude, but I don't want to slut shame her. But that also interacts with how I see her and characters like her. And so I'm trying to be careful not to be like prejudiced about it. But I don't know.
I don't
To be
think
fair,
it's
the book
prejudice
is-
when she like coerces Fitz to sleep
Yes.
with her.
Yeah.
Like
Doesn't-
there's
And
a
like the book
difference
doesn't have a
between
good
just,
track
like,
record with like random women. There's like Tassin, there's the other Honey or
Yeah.
whatever. Like Hobb has like a thing about like making random women like conniving when they're trying to like hook up with Fitz. And it's like it's weird. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a
Yeah.
little bit weird.
But Starling doesn't really care for consent, even though she is a survivor
Yeah.
of like, so it doesn't
Yeah.
make sense the way that she goes
That's-
about it.
And that's different than just being like, I like having casual sex.
Right, which is I am fine with that. And I would be fine with that if she wanted to like sleep with that one guy
Nick.
who led them there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nick.
Yeah.
I was like, that's fine. She can go off and do that, but like leave Fitz alone when he says I'm married.
he says no.
Yeah.
Like he has to say no to you so many times.
Right. And then she's trying to lawyer his marriage, right? Like he's married and she's like,
Yes.
really? Well, when? Like,
Is this
right,
Molly
yeah,
in the
she's
room with
not
us now?
here.
It's
Yeah.
like
I'm like, calm down. You're
Right.
bard. not
And
an
she's also
attorney.
like, I'm gonna immediately tell everybody all your secrets.
Yeah.
I
And then use it
know.
against you.
I didn't like that either. That
That's
she
the point at which I began to hate her. I think I liked her up to that point, and then like I just hold a mean grudge, I guess, more than Fitz does, because
Yeah.
Fitz like gets over it and I'm still like, no.
Yes.
I
She
think that-
uses all her information as like leverage to get what she wants.
She
Yeah.
has no sense of loyalty.
No.
I think eventually she, like, by the end of the book, she cares for Fitz. And I'm like,
In
Okay.
her own way, but I don't know that she's capable of caring.
oh come on, Leah. She gave him a child. A little bit.
That's
so
because she
generous.
didn't want to raise him herself.
I think, I don't, she's fine by the end of the book.
I think that like her lack of loyalty is because she's a minstrel, and that's kind of just how they are. So that's understandable. But like the way that she is towards the other characters, aside from like Ketrican, because Ketrican kind of has something over her, like the rest of like the way she acts towards the rest of them are like she's just kind of a crappy person.
Yeah, and you're right. I don't like how she treated the fool. Like, leave him alone, maybe?
She like
It's like
she like
constantly
kind of
trying
outs
to
him.
out them.
Yeah.
It's like that's really rude.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it hurts the fool's feelings.
Yeah. And the fool did not do anything to her.
I know. So the fact that she's like obsessed with it, it's just because Fitz cares for the fool more than he cares for Starling.
Yeah.
And she's jealous. So she's like,
Yeah.
I need to lash out because you're not giving me attention.
Yeah.
Like, what does the fool have that I don't?
Well,
We're just slowly
kindness.
turning Julia against Starling.
It's working. Our master plan.
yeah. I disagree with a lot of her opinions and actions. I would probably have made different choices than her. I would probably have made different choices than everybody in this book, except Night Eyes. I would do exactly.
Yeah, I was gonna say me too, except Night Eyes.
I think he was the only rational person.
I do think Night Eyes is smarter than me, though, so
Sure.
I probably wouldn't be smart enough to make his decisions.
Night Eyes had priorities.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah,
true.
yeah. I think that it less than being smarter. I think it's just he just had a good mindset, and he just didn't get like distracted by stuff.
Until he started worrying about being sent away.
See, I
Then
don't
that
even,
was
I
all
don't
he
even know
could
that's
think
a
about.
that's another
distraction.
thing Starling does. Starling makes Night Eyes feel sad and worried.
Yes. And start thinking about the future. How bad of a person do you have to be to make our wolf, who lives in the present, start thinking and worrying about the future?
Probably about as bad as Fitz, because Fitz does that first. To be fair,
Fitz doesn't do that too.
Fitz 100% does that
right?
first.
No.
Yeah,
It's all
like
Starling.
Night Eye starts thinking like a human and thinking about the future because of Fitz.
Yeah,
That's
but, like,
not
the one
his
thing he
fault.
really
That's
holds on
unintentional
to-
from their bond.
Yeah,
It's
the one
fine.
thing he like super holds on to is when Starling's like, "Well, do you think that Molly's gonna let you keep your wolf?" And then Night Eyes is like, "Oh, Molly's gonna send me away."
Well, I honestly think that like I'm going to play devil's advocate. I think that's a good thing because it's something that Fitz needs to be thinking about, and he just isn't. He's not, because he's just like, yeah, once this is all over, everything's going to be magically good. And like we see at the end, it isn't, and it's because he's not thinking about lots of stuff. Like he's just like, once I just need to get home to her and Nettle. Past that, everything's just going to be perfect.
Right, because both Night Eyes and Fitz are influencing each other, right? Like, Fitz thinks more like a wolf, not planning ahead, and Night Eyes starts thinking more like a human, like thinking about consequences for things.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to give... I think that, like, criticizing Starling for making Night Eyes think about the future maybe isn't fair. Manipulating him into making him feel vulnerable within Fitz's affections is probably not fair.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Let's talk about the Fool for a second. I love the Fool way more now after having finished the trilogy than I did in the first two books, because I did not understand the Fool in the first two books. Do I understand the Fool now? Still no, but things have changed. I think that I also often write very strange and off-putting poetry as a way of coping. And so I like that the Fool does that. I like that the Fool is like, listen, the things that you think matter don't matter. Like, that whether or not love is romantic or platonic doesn't matter. What gender you are doesn't matter. Like, this is just the way you live your life as a person, and I am going to make light of that to kind of like put satire on the things you think matter. And I like that. And he's still a person who still has feelings and who still has goals. And to see him at the end get so enraptured and finishing his own dragon, I think becomes endearing to be like, oh, you're like starting to have priorities like the rest of the people, and you're more human than I gave you credit for, which means that all the times that you seemed inhuman, you get more credit for, because you're not just some weird little freak
gremlin.
Like you're a human. And so all of your viewpoints are human viewpoints.
Mhm.
Oh, cool, Julia. Poetry. No, my poetry is like, you don't want to read it.
If you ever write any Realm of the Elderlings poetry, definitely bring it on the show.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. No, I think my last poem was about some like spit of a town in Michigan that I've never been to.
Mhm.
It's like weird and off-putting, and
to be fair, this book series is also weird and off-putting.
That's
and
true.
We've been talking a lot about how it makes itself endearing in ways that are like not unconventional, and I think that your poetry does the same thing. You're basically Robin Hobb, is what I'm saying.
I think that we should have a poetry writing workshop.
Oh,
A Realm of the Elderlings poetry writing workshop as one of our live streams one day.
That would be awesome.
Along with our what was it? Bake along. That's what we can call it.
Mm-hmm.
Our bake along with recipes from Buck.
Oh, we need that. Now that I remember, I'm gonna like DM them and ask them for like recipes. That would be great.
That we can share and use and bake. Oh my god, that would be so exciting. I'm ready. I'm ready for all the food.
Mm-hmm. I think live ships, just because like there's so much like mercantile trade, and because there's so many different places, we get like lots of cool food there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're building our own live ship for one of those live shows.
Oh yeah, of course.
Put that in the theme
where the
park.
party's gonna be. We did talk about potentially having 2 sacrifice people, so if anybody volunteers as tribute,
we need 3 people.
Julia doesn't even know about that yet.
Live on forever.
It happens right in the beginning.
Yeah, so that's not a spoiler. It's not a spoiler, but it's just something
weird.
that Julia doesn't
Wait,
know.
what?
Just read live ships.
Yeah.
It's something they'll get explained like very, very quickly.
But like, does it get explained well? Like, I think it's just like, this is what's happening right now, and then we learn later on like what it actually means.
It doesn't explain the why, but it explains the what.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's what we were spoiling. So totally cool.
We were spoiling.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it makes it the arc of understanding the Fool is like, what is this weirdo gremlin to, oh, this thing is not human, to, oh, this friend shaped like a friend,
lover, soulmate.
Mm-hmm. Perhaps. But yeah, definitely I think like after Night Eyes is the character I'm going to miss most until we return to what do you call it, Tawny Man. So I guess, does that take us to talking about live ships?
Yes,
or like,
I'm so excited.
Yeah. Do you have any other comments or stuff you want to talk about, like Assassin's Quest?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, or do you have any? See, unlike the other ones where like you had
you can't really have predictions because you don't know any of our.
We don't know
like,
any of
I mean, I could have predictions for Tawny Man. I think that we're gonna figure out what happens to this weird son. I think we're gonna figure out what happens to the kids, right? Like we're gonna figure out what happens to Nettle. We're gonna figure out what happens to whoever the heck Kettrican gives birth to.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And we're gonna figure out what happens to Hap, and it's gonna be like, all right, time for parenting.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some solid predictions.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you for coming on.
Yes, thank you for having me.
So nice.
I'm glad that you liked it and kept reading with us instead of being like, fuck these books.
I mean, again,
we're slowly swaying you to hating Starling because Starling haters unite.
Starling haters unite.
I feel like we're kind of like the oddballs because most people, I think, like Starling.
They like her? Like, I feel like tolerating her is normal, but liking her is a little bit ridiculous, actually.
I think that as a character, she's really interesting, but as a person,
as a character,
she's
she's incredible. She is an amazing character. As a person being, she sucks.
Yeah, we talked about this before, how like wouldn't want to be friends with her, but
Yeah.
appreciate the role that she plays in the books. And it's like, and I think Cello Cohen said something about this earlier. Starling is a damaged character, sometimes lashes out irrationally, trying to hurt people before they can hurt her. Starling makes Fitz think about the truth sometimes, like the time when she's like, why do men always think about women will just be waiting for them at home with a warm dinner, a warm day?
I do like that point that she makes. That was one time when Starling was not bad.
She can spit some facts, but
That's
it's
true.
very rare occasion, I think. It's not often.
Mm-hmm.
And she was just using it as a way to try to get in Fitz's pants.
That's also
and it looks like you have at least one more convert to
Thank
the
you
Starling hater
for
club.
Drunken Dragon.
You know, I'm not going to pay Starling the compliment of disliking her. I am going to give her my indifference.
Yeah,
Oh, damn.
I wish I could do that.
that's fair. I
Because she
can't.
does. She
I know.
probably thrives on our
doesn't-
hatred.
He doesn't
She's like,
deserve my hatred, but
Yeah.
I'm not
I
in
have
enough
to give it
control of
anyway.
myself.
Mhm.
I can't bring it in my heart to be
Yeah.
like,
In the end, Starling wins.
I know, and I hate her even more because of it.
Mhm.
Just cancel her and deplatform her, and then she can't work.
Yeah, just take away her harp.
Yes, give it to the fool.
When,
I bet
when
the
Regal's
fool, like,
troops broke her hand, they were
we know
practicing
the
cancel
fool can
culture.
sing.
Yeah. So speaking of poetry and the fool, I have written a limerick for him. Very shoddily right now.
Ooh,
It is,
speed poetry.
there once was a jest named the Fool, who was of the party most cool. A man mostly strange, might seem some deranged, and made of the Fitz just a tool.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, that's
Ooh.
really good. I can't believe you just came up with that like now.
I know, I can't pull any of that kind of stuff out of my head.
See, this is why I like the Fool so much. We're both just like, rhymes?
Yeah.
Let's churn out some nonsense all the time. Cool. Well, thank you very much for having me on your show. Thanks, Cello Cone. I've enjoyed being here, and I will see you. What is the first book of the Live Ship Traders called?
Ship of Magic.
Of
I think.
magic.
Mhm.
Okay, I will see you all for Ship of Magic.
Yay, I'm so excited.
Yay! I'm excited to see what you think.
Same.
Cool. I will kick myself in the pants a little bit and remember that they are actually well acclaimed, even if they don't have the characters that I have come to know and be indifferent to.
Don't worry,
A
there's so many more
people
characters
like
to
them
fall
the
in love
best.
with.
Yeah.
Push through a little bit because it is well worth it.
Okay.
Mhm.
And there are lots of characters in that who are deserving of your indifference as well.
Fantastic. I love being indifferent. It's my favorite emotion. Great. Well, I will scamper along and let you talk about spoilers.
For sure.
Bye.
Bye.
I had to write one down because I didn't want to forget it.
Wait, let me just put up the little spoilers all warning. Okay, cool.
Ooh, yes, Drunken Dragon. Plenty more characters to hate.
She's gonna hate Malta.
Like
Oh my
Malta
God,
in the first
everybody
two
hates her.
books.
Yeah.
Ugh. But then
Malta
she's literally
almost
one of
made
the best.
me stop reading because she sucked so much. And at the time, my teenage sister sucked a lot. And I was like, I can't deal
I
with
can
this
only
in
deal with
both
one.
versions of reality that I'm in right now.
That's understandable.
Mhm.
Yeah, who's there to hate? There's Malta, Kyle, Kenneth.
I mean, obviously.
There's that Senate lady too. I hated her. I hated her so much.
What?
I don't
Oh, the one who
remember.
like comes to Bingtown and tries to like Cyrilla.
Yes.
Oh,
I did not
Really?
like her. Yeah.
I thought Cyrilla gave me like
She was fine.
Starling vibes.
I felt indifferent towards Cyrilla.
She was fine until Ship of Destiny. Then I hated her because she turned like into like a little bit of a villain. But I think that it was like her lashing out because of fear, which is understandable. But like,
Yeah.
I did not care for her. I didn't like what she was doing to Bangtown and like the changes that she was enacting. Like I didn't like any of it.
Which is fair. I felt like her arc was really interesting. Oh, speaking of characters that we hate, the Satrap, hate him.
Oh yeah, he's the worst.
I think he's the worst then because unlike the rest, he doesn't change or get any sort of like
No, he doesn't.
He just goes back to ruling, and he's like, "Hey."
He learns
He
nothing from
reminds
his
me-
mistake.
Isn't his name Cuzco?
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
I
Of
literally
Cusco
pictured
from the Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah.
Cusco from the Emperor's New Groove.
Yes, I'm like, this is exactly him.
Oh, it's,
So
And he's
it's
like the right
Cosgo,
type of
but, like,
character too.
Yes, exactly.
Cusco at
It's
the
so
beginning of the
fitting
movie.
and funny. It's really good.
He needs someone to turn him into a llama. So he
Please.
can learn life lessons.
Can we get an Yzma around here? She's the one villain I like love.
I love Yzma
She's
too.
really, yeah, she tries to kill him, but like,
it's deserved.
Monk is so good.
Mhm.
Right.
I just love them.
I'm excited to read about the serpents after reading Rain Wilds and try to like pick out, because I know Malkin is Mercor, but that's the only one I know for sure. So trying to like pick out who is who will be fun, I think. And just reading it, understanding what it is, because I remember when I started live ships, I was like, what the fuck is with this like tangle serpent stuff? What does this have to do with anything?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like the biggest deal in the world.
Like, actually, these whole books are about these serpents.
Yeah, I'm a little sad I got spoiled for that because I didn't get like the unfiltered experience of like what the fuck is going on here.
How that's one get spoiled.
That's one spoil that
I read Tawny Man, and in that they talk about the serpents have cocooned up in the Rain Wilds, but they're not growing well.
I didn't understand that, so I literally just skipped past it and like forgot about it. It like left my mind. So I'm like, what the fuck?
Any stuff I didn't get, I kind of skimmed over and then immediately forgot. So I clearly was spoiled about it, and it like didn't retain the information or didn't get it.
Oh yeah, I was the opposite. I was like, all these little nuggets, I can't wait to figure it out. And then like the serpents show up right at the start. The others on Others Island show up right at the start. And I'm like, well, now I have no nuggets to predict about.
Yep.
It's also, I feel like it's going to be interesting to see Althea and Wintro from the very start, because they change so much, especially in their goals throughout the series.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm very excited for that. This is the first of the series that we're reading, or the books that we're reading, where I haven't reread it. This will be my actual like second read. So
me too.
Like,
I'm excited.
I'm not looking forward to Malta sucking and Wintro whining about wanting to be a priest.
I am interested.
Wintro's cute.
Wintro was annoying for me.
Wintro's annoying in the beginning. Yeah.
I am excited to like dissect.
Wintro's like, don't send me off to become a sailor, father. I have a weak constitution. His father's like, time for abuse.
And a fucking tattoo on your face. Like, ugh.
I feel bad for Wintro, but his like POV is literally just, I want to be a priest. I want to be a priest. Like, it's so repetitive that after like half a book of it, I was like, okay, you're not going to be able to be a priest. Can we all collectively move on?
Well, and the thing is, like, if he was supposed to be following that kind of way, and like the way that I saw that religion was like the Saw or whatever leads you to where you're supposed to be and all of that stuff. Like, he should have just accepted that he was where he was supposed to be and just realized, but like that was something that he had to learn on his own, blah, blah, blah. But I'm curious to see, like, to dig more into like looking at where the skill and like the wit and everything play a part in this series. Because I think that like what Wintro does, like when he's meditating, is like a mixture of that or something. Like, I'm curious.
Like the way that he likes he like makes stuff appear. Like that is 100% the skill. I thought that would come up more honestly because he like does that right at the very start.
I don't
And then
remember that at all.
he goes
It's
into like
weird.
sort of like a trance, and then he like
When he's still
perfectly
at the
paints
like
something.
monastery or whatever it's called.
Oh.
Mhm,
Well, it's good that we're rereading because I clearly have forgotten.
mhm.
It'll be exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved just being while Julia was still here being like, yeah, wow, I can't wait for the Fool to come back and Night Eyes for very different reasons.
Well, at least we get the Fool in this one, but like the Fool and Night Eyes go through the worst in Tawny Man. Like
Mhm.
it
I mean,
is
they both die. So like,
They both die, yeah.
yes, one just stays dead. Ish.
Her predictions were pretty spot on. Like
Yeah.
usually there's one like she'll be pretty good and then there'll be like one thing that she gets wrong, but like she was pretty much right. It is about the kids and about parenting. At
Yeah.
least in the first book especially.
Definitely, yeah.
yeah, except Nettle isn't around as much, and we get Hap instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nettle comes around more in like the last book, right?
Yeah, because of all the
Yeah,
skill dreams.
Because of
and
the
stuff.
dream stuff and Tintaglia.
Mm.
I'm excited to see her predictions once she's read Ship of Magic and to see where she thinks like this trilogy is going because it's so different.
It's so dense. I feel like it's
Yeah.
hard to make predictions with Farseer because it's sort of like, well, okay, at the end of Assassin's Apprentice, it's like, okay, Fitz is crippled, he defeated Regal, whatever. There's only like one thing to make speculation about.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there are like 10 different storylines in Ship of Magic.
And it's not like everything is tied up in like that need of a bow at the end of this trilogy anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's also like I don't know, there's certain things that I felt like I could kind of predict with Farseer, and this one does not turn out the way that I thought it was going to. Like I did not at all see like what happened with Paragon and like
Oh, yeah.
the Fool being Amber, and like there's just so many like plot twists, or like Malta all being good.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because I feel like the really like cool plot twists almost just happen as the series is happening. Just because I feel like the ending, honestly, like the twists that happen at the ending, I mean, I kind of don't like lots of the twists that happen at the ending, but I think the ones that come like right before that are like really cool.
I don't remember details enough, but I do really love that they find the treasure. Like the whole thing, like I love the pirate aspect. I hate Kenneth.
Same.
But, like, the pirate aspect and the like hoard of treasure aspect.
And I like how they like humanize pirates and other than
Yes.
Kenneth. Like
Yeah,
it's like
right.
why are they doing this and what is there? Because I feel like in lots of media, or I feel like in lots of media they're just kind of like faceless villains or whatever. But I feel like obviously
Or
it's
they're
like
just
Pirates of
like
the Caribbean or whatever.
rogues.
Yeah,
They're just rogues for the sake of being rogues.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Or they're just lovable rogues for the sake of being lovable rogues. But yeah.
Right.
I am so excited to read and like really dig into everything now, knowing what happens with Kenneth and like his whole storyline and like really picking apart the
Like-
things that we get from him and seeing like if we can like piece together things a little bit more because he was still so mysterious, I think, even near the end.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
yes, we learned about his childhood and everything like that, but like
he's simultaneously the character that's like the most, arguably the most abhorrent, and the most, like the one I feel the bad for the most.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like he had the worst life
Oh, for sure.
pre-forging, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just so excited to see like Malta and Rain together. Even in this book, like I was liking it was weird, but like I liked it. And I
No.
was like, oh, this is like mysterious, and she like sucks. So like she kind of deserves to go live in this like scary jungle that's gonna kill her. So I was still enjoying it.
Seeing them in Rain Wilds just made me tear up so much. They're so
Oh,
cute.
They're so
Yeah.
cute.
I love how it's like they're like, remember when like we first kissed and we had to kiss through the veil, and they're like, oh, it's kind of mysterious, and I'm like, you guys are too cute.
Yes.
I am looking forward to reading that again, like with the lens that they are Endgame, because I just could not get into it at first. I was like, he's a pedophile, because she's like 13 and he's 20 or something, but he doesn't know she's 13. I just couldn't get over like the age difference thing at first.
She was like deceiving him, so it kind of makes sense.
I know.
Like, I didn't even read it like that. Like I was like, yes, there is a big age gap, and then it just like slipped my mind, and I'm like, oh, this is like kind of weird and cool. And then I'm like, oh, she sucks. Like I hope she gets trapped in the Rain Wilds. And then I'm like, wait, like she's actually not that bad.
I think it's because I had, like, when I was listening to it, my sister was 14, 15, and I was thinking about it as if a 20-year-old was like coming on to her, and I was like, you know, like,
yeah, and it's
I
like,
would not be down.
We don't
with
know
it
much
in real
about
life
Rain at first. He's just sort of like this
You
mysterious,
have no
like
idea.
really suave
Stranger.
suitor.
He's like some random guy she meets on the internet. Literally, like that's basically how it begins.
On the internet.
He gives you the fucking dream box, which
That's
is
like the internet.
yeah. Yeah, I was like, I really thought that Rain, like, I thought it was gonna be like a tragic ending, but like, I guess not. I feel
I
like
thought he was gonna like steal her and like kidnap her off to the Rain Wilds or something.
I thought there was gonna be like some magic element with the dream box, where like she she got like trapped in the dream box and like something else came through into her or something. I don't know. I was just really like obsessed with the dream box for most of it.
Well, the dream box is fascinating.
Yeah.
It's
one of those like magic-y things that we really don't learn enough about. So it's one of those things that we're like obsessed with.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
A Drunken Dragon said on rereads, I always just feel bad for Kenneth. So I wonder if we're gonna feel that way.
I do feel bad for him. Like when it went into his backstory, I was like, shit, like he literally has the worst life ever.
Yeah. And yeah.
But it's hard then what he does to Althea, and like
I know continuing on the cycle of abuse is really hard. And the like thoughts that he has about Wintro are very yucky.
It's hard for me to feel bad for him at a certain point. Well, and also the fact that he's like forged.
You can feel bad for the person he was, but post forging, he's literally
not that person, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
It's really interesting. I think that in this series, but just in general, like the idea of aging and how much are you the same person at different points in your life. I was talking about this with Julia recently, where it's like, I feel like I'm in a constant state of being like, wow, the me of like 2 or 3 years ago is so cringy. Thank God I'm better now. And I can't wait from like in 2 to 3 years from now, looking back on me now, what am I going to think of as cringy or like dumb?
For me, it's always my hair. I'm like, oh my God, my hair looked like shit like a couple years ago. And I'm like, it looks so great now. And then a couple years from now, I'm going to be like, my hair looked like shit back then. It looks so great now.
It's funny because like I simultaneously think that I've changed a lot, but I also think that I'm like the same. Like I'll hear about something that I did as a kid and I'm like, I'm literally the same still.
Yeah.
You know? But at the same time, it's like, oh, I was an idiot.
It's like at your core, you're still the same, but you've grown and like matured and stuff.
It feels like that's why like a Pokemon evolution.
We're like, oh, it's cringy.
I feel like we see that more in this series with these characters than we do with Fitz. Because Fitz in Assassin's Apprentice is very similar to Fitz in like Assassin's Fate in terms of like the way that he thinks about himself, and you know what I mean? Whereas Malta in this book is not the same as Malta in Rain Wilds.
Yeah. Theirs happens on a quicker scale, I think. I think with Fitz, his changes become apparent from trilogy to trilogy. It's not from like the first book in the trilogy to the last one.
Yeah.
I almost think that, yeah, like I almost think that he like, though, no, I agree with Leah though, where like he retains a lot of his like behaviors. It's just like
Yeah.
he just kind of gets better about knowing when to apply some of it, but he also obtains like some new maladaptive coping practices, like stabbing random people who threaten his child.
Yeah.
Which,
Like he gets better at the wit, he gets better at the skill. He like levels up
yeah.
his character skills, but then he doesn't like change inside. But maybe
Fitz is a single stage Pokemon.
Yeah, maybe we would think about it differently if we were seeing him from third person. But
Yeah.
because we're getting his monologue hasn't changed much. So we don't see it as much.
Yeah, like, and I think it's also because like the first trilogy is sort of being told back. We get like Tawny Man Fitz perspective on stuff.
Yeah.
So
Right. Yep.
Oh, I'm gonna miss Fitz, you guys.
yeah,
I am too, but I am dreading Tawny Man.
Same. Like Tawny Man made me bawl my eyes out last time. Like I'm not ready to do that and then have to come on here and talk about it and try again on screen for everyone to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to it at all.
Yeah, it's like I'm excited for live ships because I feel like there's a sort of distance there where I'm like, this is a cool series and I like the characters, but I'm not like I'm not invested the way that I am in some stuff in Tawny Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like honestly, Fitz's death was the least traumatizing out of all of the deaths that we're gonna have to experience.
Yes.
Yeah, like it gets
Which
reverted
is like
immediately.
so bizarre because he's us in the books.
Right.
Like he is our eyes and ears, and when he dies, it's like you feel really sad for him and you're like, oh, like I hurt for him, but like it's nothing like when Night Eyes or the Fool go.
Yeah, because we still get him. There's no interruption. There can't be an interruption because he's our like main character.
Yeah.
And when Night Eyes goes, we literally don't even see a glimpse of him until Fool's Assassin.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like Ghost Night Eyes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, Tawny Man, like literally we lose Night Eyes, we lose the Fool, we lose Burrich. Like,
yeah.
who else is left?
The worst.
We have
Shade left.
We don't lose Patience until Fool's Assassin, but she's barely in Tawny Man.
Yeah.
That's what I'll never forgive Fitz for. I
know. I don't get why he doesn't.
He needs his mom and he doesn't want to like relive all of the stuff that he went through or like have to face it the way that Patience would make him. He's like avoiding everything, thinking that he's got so much more time.
Patience would fawn over him and he would be like, no, now you're making me.
He would hug him and he would start crying and that would be the end.
It would make him feel feelings and that's what he's avoiding.
Yes.
Just let me dull my mind with elf bark, mother. Come on now.
That's what I want. That's the trilogy that I want. Is I want Patience and Lacey.
Yeah, we say this every time.
Because that's what we need in our heart. Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. That was gonna be a spoiler.
And she's like, "Who is B?"
Sometimes I've seen people saying that like there could be a B trilogy, but I don't want one because she's just gonna put B through it, and I think B has had enough. Like
every time Julia was like, "Can you imagine Fitz being your father?" and it's like there are like 4 to 5 children who have unfortunately gone through that experience.
Like I like Robin Hobb, but I don't trust her with B.
Well, okay, I could handle a trilogy with B if it's like Kettrick raising B and like them having fun, safe, lovely parent and daughter adventures. That's not what it would be. Trilogy I will accept. Just a boring life of like health and healing and happiness, and that's all.
I would read that too, and that's what if if it was going to be that, then I'd be like, yeah, I want a B trilogy, but I don't think that she is capable of that. So I think that I need to protect B from Robin Hobb.
I think that's very understandable, honestly.
Can you imagine if, like, by the time we finish this podcast, she actually does come out with, like, a B trilogy or, like, at least, like, a B book?
I might have to be like, okay, Alex and Caillou, can you guys read it and then tell me? And then tell me if it's safe for me to read it.
You're sacrificing us.
I'm like,
it's like when you're watching a movie and it's like, is it over yet? And it's like, it totally is. Don't worry.
right. Tell me when it ends.
Yeah, Drunken Dragon, you're right. I heard that too.
I saw that on Reddit, I think. Yeah.
I hope that she returns to it because I think that would be such a cool thing. And like, honestly, it might be a little bit healing for all of us to like read about how they handle a plague compared to how we did it.
How we poorly did.
How we didn't handle it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, but knowing Hobb, she like, I feel like her characters would also not handle it.
Kettricken would for sure. You know, Kettricken would be out there like forcing people to have masks. There would be mask mandates, and
Kettricken would put a mask mandate, and all of the inland duchies would be like, "I don't want to wear a mask."
Yeah, they'd be like, "The blood plague is fake."
Kettricken would die like within two seconds, not because she would put all these protocols into place.
Out there.
Yeah, she would be like helping nurse people back. Yeah.
Yep. That's true.
She would be sacrifice.
Yeah.
They could just use the blood plague as like a weapon and then take out Chalced or Chalced.
Yeah, that would be nice.
But doesn't Chalced get reformed at the end of Rain Wilds?
Oh yeah, I guess that's okay.
I mean, it's always kind of bad. It tries to get better, but
doesn't whatever.
I like the Duke's daughter.
Yeah.
But it's like they're so bad. Like, how much can she really do
before she gets taken out? You know they're gonna assassinate her ass.
But like with some dragons around, like don't Rapskull and stuff stay there for a while?
I don't think so. Because Rapskull's in. I always forget the name of this one. It's the one in between Fool's Assassin and Assassin's Fate. Rapskull's in that book.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. When they go to Calsingra, or maybe it's at the very beginning of Assassin's Fate. Yeah. When Fitz and the Fool go to Calsingra, Rapskull's there.
I think that Selden stays in Chalced for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I feel like the implication is like, if you overthrow me, the dragons will come and beat your asses.
Yeah.
Like they did with the other existing team.
I think it would be really interesting if we did get the B trilogy with the Blood Plague to see how she does that, because that's a very different thing than like that being like the antagonist is very different from all of the human antagonists that we have seen throughout the whole other series. So it'd be interesting to see how she like plays that and how that kind
how it like connects to the idea of like the circle of time that the whites are supposed to.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I just need you guys to proof it for me.
That's fine. I'll do it. And I'm sure I'll devour it. I will like stay up for 24 hours to read the whole thing, cry, and then be like, I need to start it again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's about all we have to say, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, cool.
One trilogy down.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
And I was doing the math. I think it took us from September to March to read 3 books. So this is going to take us a good amount of time. We're in this. I hope that you two are in this for the long haul, because I totally am. Just saying.
I'm in this for the long haul. Unless I tragically perish, but like
if it takes us a decade, so be it. I am ready for a decade of talking about Robin Hobb.
That gives us time to make the boat.
Exactly. To wait for the next trilogy to come out too.
So true. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It'll be like 3 years, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, I think 3 and some change.
3 and
because of I think the like Rainwild Chronicles will take us a weird amount of time because the books are like kind of small, but like it's also 4. And then all the short stories we have to read too.
Yeah, the short stories. I'm so excited. I'm actually gonna like send me a link for like the short story.
I think
collection.
it's called The Inheritance.
Yeah, it is. I was just on it on Amazon. It's like $14.
Okay.
But that was for like the ebook, and I was like, if I'm paying that much money, I'm getting a
Physical
book.
copy. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't
I'm
want to
sure
order
they-
a book from Amazon. So
No.
Yeah.
If you guys have like local libraries or like have library cards, if you get the app Libby, Libby,
I have it on
you
my
can
phone.
get them all for free.
I downloaded Libby, but it like the closest library that's on there is in St. Paul, and you need a library card from that county. But St. Paul is like a half an hour away from me, and you have to live in that county to get the library card. And I'm like, my address is not in that county.
You can also, I think that the New York City Library, public library, like will allow out of state or out of county residents to like get a library card from them. I think it's like $10 and that's like it. So you could sign up with that and then get their whole catalog.
Okay.
And
I literally live like 2 seconds from a library, but the libraries in my county aren't on there. Like the only one in Minnesota is in St. Paul on Libby.
That's really odd.
I know.
I think you can also get like digital
Overdrive or something.
library cards because that's what I did because I was too lazy to like go to the library the first time. So I got like a digital card. It'll say like, I don't have one. And then you can just like
I tried to do that, but it wanted me to put in my address, and I was like, you don't live in this county.
Just look up
Maybe
the
I
address.
should
Like,
use like my friend's address or something.
Yeah,
Find a friend.
They don't mail you anything. Like they really don't use your address just to see that you're like a resident there, I think.
That's smart. I didn't think of that.
But 10 out of 10 recommend Libby. It's the best. And the audiobooks are really good too. Like I listen to audiobooks like exclusively from there because I do not support Audible.
Yeah, I've been trying to get off Audible.
Libby's a good alternative for sure. Because you can keep the audiobooks, I think, for like a month too. So it's like a long enough time. And if they're not super popular, you can
be sponsoring us or something. What's going on?
I'm such an advocate. I love them.
Another one my friend recommended is called Chirp, because I was telling her, I was like, I have tried to do Libby and I can't figure out how to make Libby work, and I really don't want to be giving money to Audible anymore. So she recommended Chirp, so I downloaded that one.
Yeah, let us know how that goes.
I'll let you know how that goes too, because I always listen to books when I walk Frodo. So off topic, but
Yeah.
On topic though, I think all the audiobooks in this series suck.
Yeah.
I can't listen to them.
I don't love the Farseer ones. I only listened to Assassin's Quest once. But I didn't mind the narrator for Live Ships or Rain Wilds.
I think the books are just so like packed with stuff. It's way too hard for me to continually focus on like what they're saying without having the book in front of me to look at. And I think that's probably the reason. But also the narrator for Farseer, I think, was British, and I don't want Fitz to have a British voice. So like I can't hear that. And then when I read the book, Fitz is like British because he
also sounds old. Like
Fitz
he sounds older than Fitz writing Farseer would be. So that threw me off.
That's weird too.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to read these because I'm buying the physical copies of Live Ships and Rain Wilds. So that, because my first read, I read Ship of Magic, but then I listened to the audiobooks for the other two. And then same with Rain Wilds. I read the first one, but I listened to the audiobooks for the rest of the 3 of them. So I feel like reading them this time, I'll like pick up on a lot more.
Definitely.
Just because I won't be like distracted by everything going on listening to the audiobook.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with that we can wrap up tonight's live show. So thanks to Drunken Dragon and Cello Cohen for sticking with us through more than 2 hours at this point.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us live.
Yeah, I think it
I know
adds
this
a
was like
lot.
it's kind of ironic because the other two we had like the time planned out or like announced like a little bit in advance.
Yeah.
And we didn't
Now
like
we're,
have
like,
anyone
last
show up
minute.
live. And this one we just like kind of spur of the moment announced it, and we got some people. So cool. But also shout out to anyone who's just watching this on our YouTube channel afterwards. We love you too.
Yeah.
Just like not as much as the people who show up live.
Maybe you should have joined and we'd love you just as much.
Yeah. I don't know when we're going to be recording LiveShow's first episode. If you guys are free this weekend, we can try it.
I have to read, but I'm ready.
Saturday I'm volunteering.
Okay, so we can do next weekend then. It's totally
Okay.
cool.
That'll give me time to read.
Yeah.
So
I also need
let's
to
say-
read. I haven't read any of it yet.
yeah.
I'm
let's
so
just say-
excited to finally like allow myself to open up the book. I'm so ready.
Yeah, so let's say Monday, May 9th is probably going to be our first live shift episode. So see y'all then.
Oh my gosh, so excited.
Yay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.